Hey guys, Chris here with Rooted today. I'm really excited to talk with you about some chord inversions today, okay? Chances are, if you've ever played guitar or played piano, you maybe understand some of what this stuff is. But if you've never talked about some of this stuff, or if you basically play all of your chords in what's called root position, which I'll describe to you today, then I want to give you another way to play music and make it sound really good, really cohesive, and make it all sound as a unit. Okay, so if you're a basic player, and maybe not even a basic beginner player, I know some even further down the line advanced students who do this, but if you play mainly using root position chords, I want you to try out these inversions. It's just gonna totally open up your playing. It's going to give you so many more options to use as you're playing chords in any given key, any given song. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to make your music sound so much better, I promise. So let's talk about what a root position chord is to help you fully understand what it is that we're talking about, okay? So if we're talking about a C major chord, we're going to keep our talk to the key of C for a second, because the key of C is the easiest key to understand if you've been tracking with us. The one rule about C major is that there are no black keys, so only white keys. And a C major chord is called the one chord in the key of C, okay? So if we're looking at a C major chord, that involves the notes C, E, and G, and it looks like this, okay? That would be a root position chord with your thumb on C, or your middle finger or your index finger could play E, and then you'd play the G last, okay? That would be called a root position chord. And if you notice some of the details about this chord, you notice that every note is evenly spaced. You have one note of separation between each one of these three notes, okay? So that is your root position version of your C major chord. A G major chord would be this exact same way. You would just start with your thumb on a G and then span your fingers out with one note separating the three notes here. It would be a G, a B, and a D, okay? An F major looks like this, same exact thing. An F, skip the G, then an A, skip the B, and then a C, okay? So root position basically is the style of chord where your thumb, the bottom note, is on the root of the chord or the letter of the chord. So if you're playing an F sharp chord, your thumb would be on an F sharp. If you're playing a B chord, some type of B chord, major or minor, your thumb would be on the B, okay? That's a root position chord where your thumb is on the origination, the root note of the chord, okay? And all the notes are evenly spaced. Okay, now, we want to talk about inversions today, okay? So if you've been playing chords like that, that's great, and it's definitely going to get the job done, but you can take your playing to another level by using inversions, okay? So a chord inversion is basically something where an inversion, to invert something, means to flip something around, right? To like throw it on its head, basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw these chords upside down. So let's take our C major chord example for a minute. All right, we have a C, an E, and a G. And what makes that chord a C major chord is the fact that you're playing a C, an E, and a G, okay? Doesn't matter what order you play those notes in. All that matters is that you're playing a C, an E, and a G, okay? So remember that. Inversions don't change the chord. They don't change the notes in the chord. They just change the form of the chord. They change the pattern with which you play these, okay? So your root position was a C, an E, and a G, C on the bottom, E in the middle, G on top, okay? First inversion, we have two different inversions. We have root first and then second inversion, okay? So whenever we invert something, like we said, we flip something around. So now we're gonna move the notes around just a little bit. Instead of playing C at the bottom, we're gonna play C at the very top of the chord. E is gonna be at the bottom, and then G will be in the middle, okay? So your first inversion, this would be called first inversion of your C chord, will look like this. It'll be E on the bottom, G in the middle, and C on top, okay? So that's your first inversion of C major. And if you notice, every first inversion chord will look this exact same way. There will be one note of separation between the bottom two notes, but then two notes of separation between the middle note and the top note, the G and the C, all right? Every first inversion chord looks that exact same way, and so you'll notice that as you begin entering this into your playing. Now the last inversion we have is called second inversion, and it would look like this. Now instead of E being the bottom and C being on the top, now we're gonna make G, the note G, be the bottom note, C be the middle note, and E be the top note. And so now instead of the back end of the chord having the most separation between notes, now the front end of the chord does. So now between G and C, there are two notes of separation. You skip the A and the B. But then between C and E, there's only one note of separation. So let's show you those images one more time. You have a root position C major, C, E, G. evenly spread notes. Then you have first inversion of C major, an E, a G, and then a C. More notes in between the last two notes of the chord than the front end. And then the second inversion of C major, more notes in between the front end of the chord, okay? Now, as you get started using these, one really great area of practice, anybody that is in lessons with us in our online piano course or in piano lessons here with us, we always find that it's an amazing practice to always just review any one of the 15 major scales, okay? Review the scales that you know, and then start practicing the chords within each scale, okay? So if you're practicing in the key of C, then you would practice the C major scale and then play the chords available, the 1 chord, the 2 chord, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 chords in the key of C, just to get your mind used to playing those chords that are available in the key of C and just get to know those keys really well. So one thing I would start doing, in addition, if you already do that, or if you already know how to do some of that, play every version of the chord, okay? When you're going through these warm-ups. So play the scale maybe, start playing the chords, but instead of just playing the root position version of the 1 chord, play the 1 in root position, and then play it in first inversion and then second inversion. So you'll play 1 3 times essentially. Root, first, second, and then go to the 2 chord and play root position, first inversion, second inversion, and then the 3 chord and so forth, all the way up to the 7. And the more that you do this, the more that it will just become natural to start entering these chord inversions into your playing, and it'll sound great. I want to show you an example of a song real quick that uses inversions. Now this is a song called Trouble by Coldplay, but you're going to hear the cohesion, and you'll see actually what I'm playing. Don't really worry about my left hand. My left hand is actually doing some inversions too, and that gets a little more complicated as you get into that, so I don't want you to worry about that too much. Mainly focus on what my right hand's doing here in this verse 1 section of Trouble. You'll see that I'm playing a 1 chord, and then a 6 chord, and then a 3 chord, okay? And then I'm playing a flatted 7 chord, which would be an F major. Right, this song Trouble's in the key of G. Be an F major, and then an A minor, 2 chord, and then a 1 chord, a G major, okay? And so primarily what I want you to pay attention to is the 1 chord to the 6 chord transition, okay? The 1 chord, I'm playing in root position, okay? Starting out the verse 1 in root position. But when I move to the 6 chord, I'm playing that E minor chord, the 6th chord in the key of G, in first inversion. You'll notice that as you take a listen to this verse 1, okay? The other chords are mainly all played in root position because that's what the song does, but really pay close attention to chords 1 and chord 6 and just kind of hear how cohesive they sound, okay? So take a listen. Okay, so I hope that made some sense for you. I hope you were able to start hearing a little bit of the cohesive nature of those chords. So the whole reason why we enter inversions into our playing is to make songs and to make progressions sound cohesive. You could even do a little test for yourself, okay? I would love for you to go to your piano, whether it's digital or whether it's acoustic piano, whatever, and just play this simple progression in the key of C. Play a 1 to a 4 to a 6 to a 5, okay? 1, 4, 6, 5. 1 chord would be your C major, C, E, G. 4 chord would be your F major, F, A, C. 6 chord would be A minor, A, C, E. And 5 chord would be G major, G, B, D. Play that a couple times in a row just to get the idea for what that sounds like. Then I want you to mix and match some inversions the next time and see how it sounds. So maybe play the 1 chord in root position, but then you play the 4 chord in second inversion where you play the C first and then the F and the A. So the 4 chord would be an F major chord, F, A, C, but we'd have the C being the first note and then F and then A following. So C major, C, E, G to F major, C, F, A, and then to 6, you could do C, E, A. That would be first inversion of the 6th chord. And then the 5 chord is a G major chord. We could do B, D, and G. That would be first inversion of the 5 chord. Okay, so mess around with that little progression, 1, 4, 6, 5, and listen to the difference in the way that it sounds. You'll find that when you only play everything in root position, it sounds just kind of all over the place, like you're moving all the way up and down the piano, which sometimes isn't a bad thing. But in a lot of modern music, it doesn't sound as good. And so if we can make chords sound more cohesive, more as a unit, that's going to be a great thing for us in our playing. It's going to make your playing instantly sound better. You can play the same progression, but it can instantly sound amazingly better because your hands are roughly in the same area, and it's easier to do. You don't have to move your hand all the way up and down the piano to achieve this. Your hand can stay in the same general area. And like I keep saying, it sounds more cohesive. It sounds more like the song and the chords are in a unit together, okay? It sounds better. But try it on your own and see for yourself. I think you're really gonna like doing this a lot. And this is just one great way. Inversions are a great way to take your playing to another level, okay? This is something we talk about in our online piano course, but starting with root position chords is a great place to start. And then once you feel like you've mastered those and some keys, start adding in these inversions and start really getting to know these chord inversions, because once you do, like I said, it's just gonna open up a whole another way of playing. And some of these different what are called voicings of these chords are going to open your ear up. Then even if you want to start writing some music, your ear will then maybe want to start like hearing something else after a 1 to a 4 chord. Maybe you play a 1 to 4 in root position each time and you're like, this doesn't sound great, it's not that inspiring. But you play a 1 to 4 with inversions, you're like, man, okay, now that makes me want to hear something else. So take a stab at playing with some of these chord inversions. I hope you really enjoy doing it, and reach out and let me know how it goes for you. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear that. But this is kind of the next step for a lot of you who have mastered root position, feel good there, get involved in these inversions and just see how it opens up your playing. Thanks so much for taking the time with us. Hope you guys have a great week.